everyone. Just thought I'd do a quick video about Enneagram and typing, about the actual taking of the test. And I just wanted to mention that how you take the test can be indicative of your type, so your reactions to it. So I just want to go through some examples that I've experienced that confirm this. So start with type 1, and I knew a type 1 who took the test and she scored a 1, and then she took it again and she took it with medication. She scored a 5, and then she took it again at different times of the day and she scored a 1, and she took it again on a different day, scored a 1 and a 5 and a 1 and a 1, and like I said to her, okay, what's going on? I just want to get it right. How do I know if it's right? I said, okay, what you're saying right now sounds like a 1. You're a 1. You're trying to get it right. That's a 1. You're not a 5. You're a 1. And she is. We've discussed this, and I've seen how she's a 1. She's a 1 wing too. She's a modern day Joan of Arc. And but it's just funny. She just wanted to get it right. Then I knew a 2 who took the test. The 2 took the test. She scored a 9. She said, yeah, I'm a 9. I was like, okay. Didn't give it a lot of thought. Working, not thinking about it. Had a coworker of mine who also knew the Enneagram said, you know, I don't think she's a 9. She meddles too much. She's always getting herself in things, you know? I don't think she's a 9. I was like, yeah, maybe not. So I showed it to her again. I said, are you sure you're a 9? She read it. She's like, yeah, no, it says I'm creative. This doesn't sound, and then she read the 2. She goes, this sounds like me. She read the 2, took the test again, told me that she's actually never scored type 2 as her result, but she's a 2-wing 1. Not only by her reading it and figuring it out, but I've seen it play out. She is not a 9. And if you know things about 2, when they're unhealthy, they don't like to admit their negative qualities. They sort of under the rug sweep them. So it makes sense that she would score a 9 because she doesn't want to focus on the negativity. She just wants to think about the positive. Like 2s are, we're positive, rainbows, cupcakes, unicorns, yay. No, she's a 2. And then I had to, get her to understand that, like, yeah, 2s, when they're unhealthy, they're manipulative and they meddle. And she's like, do I do that? And it's interesting because a lot of times she would think how she's being selfish. If I do this, I'm selfish. I said, no. The only way you're going to be selfish is meddling people's lives. During moments of integration, she would buy things for herself, which I was like, good for you. That's an integration of 4. Good for you. So, yeah, that was interesting. So, me, 3, not so many experiences. 3s can be kind of obvious, but 4 for me. I took the test, knew nothing of the Enneagram, and I scored sexual 4 wing 3. And I pretty much score that every single time. Now, I have come to learn in studying, again, the tests are not always accurate, that I'm a social sexual 4 wing 5, and I think the 3 wing comes from the social variant. Definitely more towards the 5, but I do have a strong 3 pull. I've never scored anything but 4 on my test. I knew after reading the first few sentences that I had hit my type. So that was never an issue for me. Had a type 5 coworker who told him about it. He read it. He read the descriptions, and he said he knew he was a 5 based on the description. He did take the test and did score a 5, but he said he didn't really even need the test. He just knew from reading. And that's how I feel. Like, just reading the description, I just knew. It's just interesting how some people seem to sort of vacillate, between their, different types. They don't know, this, that. And some others just know. Then I knew a type 6. Okay, I worked with this type 6, and she knew she was a 6. She scored it, and then she read it, and she was like, I'm such a 6. And then there was another 6 who took the test, and she doubted the Enneagram. So one 6 that I knew was very phobic, and she trusted the Enneagram. She goes, oh my God, this is so great. This is so accurate. I love it. Another 6, counterphobic. I don't trust this thing. And she said, every time I take the test, I get a different result. It just depends. I said, well, you're getting a different result because it depends. And if you look at that test, it's very funny because they ask you questions. Very likely, never likely, you know, and then the little markers, the little dots are in the middle. So if you just hit the button, keeping everything in the middle, never moving anything, reading it, even you don't even have to read it, you will score a 6 wing 5. Because I did it. I was like, what will I get if I don't do anything? 6 wing 5. And that makes sense because 6s are all like, well, it depends. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Had a type 7 who I talk about in my 7 video. I thought he was a 5. Very healthy 7. So 7s integrate to 5. Comes back, he says, I scored the highest on, like he said, 7, 5, and 1, which 5 and 1 are the 2 points of the 7. He said, I really feel the connection with 7. I learned a lot from him. I admit that I didn't know a lot about type 7 until I worked with him. He's a 7 wing 6. And they're fascinating. I totally see how they're very intelligent, and they can be, their minds are so active and many-sided, and they have so much going on. He has so many hobbies. So in that sense, they can be fascinating. Certain subtypes and health levels. Of course, they can also be a real drag to be around. So then type 8, knew a type 8, took the test. She scored a 1 for a long time. She thought she was a 1. And then I'd say, I don't know if you're a 1, because she challenged things too much. 1s, they can voice their opinions, but they kind of stay within the rules. And so their anger comes at, like, they don't like the rules, but they have to, the anger comes from, at least my perspective about the 1, is that they're stuck in those rules and they resent that. Whereas the 8 is going to challenge those rules and say, no, it needs to be different. And I actually asked a 1 why, you know, this 1 said she has issues showing her her feelings. And I said, what is it? Is it the vulnerability? Like, what is it? And it was the vulnerability. It's just so interesting because me as a 4, I don't sit there and say, oh, I can't show my feelings now. There's no option. It just happens. I don't want it to happen. I mean, ideally, if I'm at work, I'd rather cry by myself than in front of people. Sure, because I'm at work. But I can't stop it. I've tried. It doesn't work. So, also then, I knew another coworker told me that a relative of hers, who's an 8, she's always very unhealthy 8. She kind of bosses people around and shit, and she's bossy and, you know, puts her opinion where it's not needed and controls people. She took the test and got a 5. And she's like, I'm a 5! And I was like, well, that doesn't sound right because she's not withdrawn and unhealthy 8s go to 5. And her cousin said, my coworker said, no, you're an 8. I think you're an 8. I'm not an 8. I'm not an 8. And she was just challenging it. She was like argumentative. 8. Okay. Then type 9 took the test. Every single thing he said he read, he could relate with. And I said, oh, you're a 9. I thought maybe you were, I don't know, maybe I thought he was a 7. I didn't know enough about 7s. I didn't know enough about him. So he's like, oh, I could see that. I could see that. I could see that. So I told him, I suggested, I loaned him this book. My mom's reading this book right now. I loaned it to him, and I said, you know, I do think you seem to be more like a 9 wing 1, but read the description. Tell me if you seem more 9 wing 1 or 9 wing 8. Let me know. He goes, yeah, I read the 9 wing 1, and it really does seem like me, but I don't know if that's because you told me so. Type 9. Like, it's just really funny. So sometimes your reaction to the test and can be an indicator of your type without even realizing it. So the interesting thing, like my mom took the test for the longest time. Well, she's reading the book. I thought she was a 9-wing 1, but she turns out she's a 9-wing 8. And that's something sometimes you just can't know in somebody, because you don't know. She says she's got the inner tenacity, and she's got the feelings of competition, which is not something that I would be aware of, because I don't know. And that's, the Enneagram is all about what's inside you. Also, it's interesting, the difference between 9 and 4 in terms of identity, because the two types that struggle with identity, and that 4s will withdraw to find their identity, whereas 9s feel like when they're withdrawn, they're losing their identity. So they sort of merge into other people, and they can kind of merge, especially with assertive types, and they can lose themselves in that sense. Like, I've known 9s who can be extremely spiritual, very deep, very self-aware, because India is a 9 culture. The whole idea of, Buddhism and meditation is the 9, gaining inner peace. But then you can find 9s who just numb themselves out to shallow pleasures and will binge watch TV shows, and they don't get anything done, and they don't feel they've achieved anything. And I know for me as a heart type, so the heart types are all about 2, 3, and 4, are all about shame. I can't do that. I can do that for maybe an afternoon. But I know that I feel, and whether it's being a heart type, 3-wing, I just can't. Because for me personally, just being me, which sounds really sad to say, being me is not enough. I don't feel that's enough. I feel I have to give something, I have to achieve or have a purpose. And like I've said with the 4 will lean on those 2 wings. The 3, I need to achieve these things to be special. Or 5, I need to have these talents and knowledge to be special. I subscribe to the Criterion channel. I'll sit there and go, oh, look, they're having a series on Burt Lancaster. Oh, I can watch every Burt Lancaster film. Oh, look at that. I mean, who would do that? That's the 5-wing. But I feel like if I'm not acquiring knowledge and I'm not improving, and I feel like a blob. So how much of that is within, and how much is that with external validation? A lot of it is with external validation. And in talking with a type 1 recently, she said that when she's stressed, 1s go to 4, she's constantly looking for external validation. I said, yeah, that's your 4-wing. And I would say for me, I'm never fully beyond that. It's not something that ever leaves me, but I can have moments where it's not as important as others. I will say that when unhealthy and I go to 2, that I focus so much more on externals and gaining kind of external validation from others, and fishing for compliments. Instead of wanting to watch a film or read, I'll want to talk to people, friends or something, but the goal is to really get compliments, which is really sad. And I've had that happen a few times during this whole COVID crap and just being stressed. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts. Hope everyone's doing well. I'll have some more videos. I enjoy doing Enneagram videos largely because I think they put into context real world situations and human nature that I can discuss within a system. And I enjoy doing that. So yeah, that's all I got. I'll be in touch. Thank you for listening.